Pastor Lord for the invocation.
Lord, you just created us and you're full of wisdom. And so, Lord, tonight we again just approach you for wisdom for our meeting. Lord, as you give wisdom, we pray that you'd show us how to unify. Lord, we do cry out for protection over our first responders, Lord. Protection from diseases and, Lord, what they face. And, Lord, we just pray for just a fullness of your provision, Lord, as we look at the money that's been invested in the dredging, Lord. We just lift this city up to you, Lord, that you'd put your hand and touch on it, Lord. Restore the integrity of Port Richey, Lord, God, in a clear vision that we could move in, Lord, for the citizens, that your breath and life could be upon, Lord God. And we just, right now, even cry out to you for the city manager that you have, Lord. And we just bring Port Richey to you. And we say, Lord, may we understand how to move in your goodness and glory. And we look to your protection, Father. And we just ask it in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Scott Tremblay.
Here.
Vice Mayor William Dittmer.
Here.
Councilwoman Jenny Sorrell.
Here.
Councilman Tom McClary.
Here.
Councilman Tom Kinsella.
Here.
City Attorney James Matthew.
Here.
City Manager Leonard Sossaman.
Here.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to approve council minutes?
Motion to approve minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This time I want to move on to comments from our general public. I see several people signed up, and then anyone who's not signed up that wants to speak, we'll open the podium for comment. I'd like to invite and welcome Debbie Robinson at this point.
Hello, I'm Debbie Robinson. I live at 5033 Waterside Drive. I have a problem. I've been through a lot of channels with no results. So I have a business over on Pine Hill Road. It's called Apple 6 Commercial. And I called code enforcement. I talked to Don Holcomb in beginning of August. And he told me that he went out there to see the situation. He called me back and told me that he knows the owner personally. Well, first I called F.I. Gray, actually, because the property is next to mine and it's for sale. And they told me that to call the code enforcement, so I did. And then he went out to talk to the gentleman, I guess, that owned the property. Actually, I found out it was the man that's right across the street that owns the storage. And he told me that the gentleman that owned the property said that he had a crew and he was going to come out on August 22nd and that he was going to take care of it. So that was 3 weeks. I waited 3 weeks. And then August 22nd came, nothing happened. So then I called Don back again, but then Don wasn't there anymore. He was sick. So for every week, I called the police department trying to see if I could get some satisfaction of who was going to help me. I went through so many people. Finally, several weeks after that, they finally got, I guess, somebody that was working on the beat, and then his name was Jason, and I talked to him, and he came out. He looked at the situation. He said that he has to talk to the city attorney, and that he went to the city attorney, and he called me back, and he told me that the city attorney told him that they can't make anybody cut grass that's in the water. So when I took over the building, my mother's had that building for over 30 years. My mother passed away. Her name was Sandy Applefield. I'm sure you know her. And I tried to start cleaning up the place. So what happened was, when the guys start coming down Pine Hill Road, the young kids come on their lawnmowers, and they just go straight, go quick, you know. So there's a like a waterway between my property and the one on the end that used to be the Salvation Army Church, and a beautiful waterway. It has turtles in it. It has fish in it. People come fish. At one time, the city had put in a fountain because it was just so beautiful. And so nobody was cutting behind, if you have a car and you try to go into the water, there's like these big cones, like big high cones, and nobody was cutting behind them. Oh, so am I
No,
off?
she can have more time.
Oh,
Please, thank you.
So I called the city to tell them, who's cutting. For over 30 years, we've never cut that. And then the city said, well, hold on, let me go check, and I'm going to go and look at your property, and now you own into the water. It's your responsibility to go into the water. I said, all right. So I started cutting, going all the way down to my property, and then Tom, when he was working with the city, he came by and he says, oh, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm loading up the truck. This is my second load. I've been $30 already going to the dump. He said, listen, we'll just put it out here to the front and we'll take it away. So we did. So then,
Can I stop? What was the original complaint that you had with the property?
the complaint was, it's so overgrown, so he's selling it. So it used to be when the church owned it, they used to cut all the way to the waterway. Now they're only cutting like a certain amount what they have to do, and then it's completely overgrown, and now it's growing into the water, and it's almost closing the waterway up. So what I'm concerned about is, because I just found out when I was cleaning my end, that we have a swell, like a water thing, like I don't know what you call it.
For drainage.
I'm sorry, what's the address?
So I'm at 8001 Apple 6 Drive. So it's Apple 6 Commercial. So, and then in front of my building, I also have a swell. So I'm very concerned about what's going to happen now if that waterway, if the water is coming from, going down Pine Hill with all the swell, and then going into this waterway, and if that closes up, what's going to happen when it rains? So I wanted to, so now Jason told me that the city attorney told him that I have to maybe make an ordinance, because now there's no right to tell somebody to cut a water, but our property goes into the water. So now there's homeless people. So I talked to Sal. I wanted to make sure first that.
Can you wrap it up? Because I gave you a little bit extra time.
Oh,
but
okay. I don't know. I talked to everybody, and I don't know what to do anymore. So do I have to have an ordinance, or can that guy that the code enforcement went to tell him to clean up, and then he said that he had a crew, keep his word and just clean up to the water, so we can keep that opened instead of getting it closed?
Thank you. We can look into that.
Okay. I have one more thing to say, is I have another property, and I talked to this gentleman down here, and for over 30 years, the city has been cutting, and I verified, that that's their property and they're cutting. Now, this is an 8312 US 19, Brooklyn's Automotive. So when I called to tell him that the grass is now over my head, he says that the city's not going to cut anymore, and that they want the DOT to cut. Well, I'm lucky that the DOT even cuts. They only cut once a month on US 19. So why wouldn't he get back to me? I've left several messages on his phone. He hasn't called me back. And so, why don't you just cut it until you find out if the DOT is going to cut it? But when I called the city said that it's their property and they're supposed to be cutting. So why am I having so much aggravation? Getting somebody to help me to do something in my properties when I'm trying to keep Port Richey nice. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The next person that I had that was signed up was Pastor Lord. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Pastor 814 Leo Kidd Avenue. I do want to thank Sean, the city workers, for picking up our cleaning up. I've hauled some of it and had to pay to dump it, and so I'm thankful that y'all can help us here in the city to pick that up. So thank you. Also, I just really want to give my thanks to the city for the police department and the fire department coming out to the fish fry. It was just great. I wish we'd have had more children, but it was just great to see the police car there with the children around it, the fire trucks and them going in. So just say thank you. I think it's important that we build that with our children and they see that confidence and help. It was good to have Councilman Detmer and his wife join us at the fish fry. Also, next Wednesday, I'd given you a flyer, and that is our monthly meeting. We pray every Wednesday at noon, and every third Wednesday we have a free luncheon that we just try to network. How can we do things better in the city to go and pray, network together, and the whole region here that we're working in. So y'all are to be our guests as appreciation for Thanksgiving. I realize many of you work and can't be there, so it's not a burden. If it's a burden, don't worry about it. It'll be a joy if you can just come have that time with us and share. So that will be next Wednesday at 12 noon. Also, I was praying with our group, and somebody mentioned to me about dedicating our police cars and the fire truck. And that's normally what I do when I buy something. Jesus sent them out to anoint with oil the sick, and so forth, and there's a lot there in the scriptures. But so we just, as the pastors and leaders, whenever you dedicate those, we'd like to be available, if it's all right in your eyes, to come pray for those and those that's going to use them for their protection and dedication for safety. It says the angel of the Lord encamp about those that fear him, and we just like to invite the Lord to be a part of that in dedicating the police cars and the fire truck. And so also I see y'all are working on things maybe for Christmas. And that's, I think, pretty much it. Just want to thank you all and hope you have a great Thanksgiving and all. Appreciate you, and the Lord bless you. And remember, in the world we'll have troubles, but Jesus said if we're really in him, we're going to have peace in the midst of it, okay? Thank you, Mayor Council.
Thanks,
Lord
Thank you,
bless
Pastor
you.
Ward. That's all that signed up, but I see some other people here from the general public. Anyone who wants to speak, show of hands. Welcome. Come on up to the podium.
Well, you could speak when the item comes up, or you could talk now.
Okay, I'll talk now. Hi, my name is Lexi Kust. I live at 4650 Bay Boulevard, number 1035.
Lexi, what was your last name?
Kust, K-U-S-T.
Okay.
I'd just like to put my name forward for the Historical Commission. I've been in Port Richey for a couple years, and truth is I don't know anything about the local history here, but I'm interested. I came from Wisconsin before now, and I lived there for 20 years, and for about 15 years of that, I was involved in a historical farm there, and it's a city park, and I was active there in many capacities over that time. I was a volunteer, was an employee, and I served on the board of directors, and then one term I served as president of the board of directors. And it's an interesting place. It was donated. The benefactor left the property and trust money. So there's that group of trustees that manage the money, and the board of directors is in charge of the direction of the park and the activities and workshops and things, and they manage a couple of employees. And I didn't know anything about Wisconsin history either, but I learned a lot, and I had a lot of fun. So I'm interested. Right now, I'm enrolled in the what do they call that? Citizens. It's the county-sponsored program that it's an educational program. Slips my mind right now, but I'm learning a lot about county government, and to the end of just getting involved locally. So that's it.
Thank you very much for your participation.
Welcome to Port Richey.
Any other show of hands like to speak? Seeing no hands, I want to move on to the next item, which would be the comments from our city manager, and I want to turn it over to Mr. Sossaman.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things tonight, if I may. First of all, today, as you all are aware, is the 10th day of November, And today just happens to be the 245th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. So I'd like to wish happy birthday to all the Marines, not just those in Port Richey, but all the way across America, and those serving worldwide, because I think there's a big debt of gratitude. Also tomorrow, it just so happens it falls this way, tomorrow being the 11th day of November, obviously it's Veterans Day. So besides wishing happy Veterans Day to the Marines, but also I'd like to wish happy Veterans Day to all those serving in every armed forces around the world, because they do a lot of work for us. Second, I've got a report. I think if you look at your last monthly report, we had a request for a report on our financial investments, and that was included in that monthly report. And I understand that one councilman, and I'm not going to call any names, has got a computer that's a little on the blink right now, so I'll provide him an additional copy, a hard copy or something, so that he can catch up. But we're in good shape. I think, I'm like most people now, the interest rates aren't what we would like for them to be, but I guess that's offset by other factors. So those are the three things. One additional thing, well, actually two additional things. We had a vehicular sale, if you will. We had out of our impound yard. Police chief brought forth a list of a couple meetings back. That podium was between Mr. McClary and me. But we had that sale, and when all was said and done, and I know you all had some questions about the cost, and if you want a hard copy of this, I'll be glad to send it out to you tomorrow so you can have it. But our net proceeds were $5,246.24. There were obviously costs that for transportation, as you all asked about, also advertisements and those types of things. So, but they all did sell, and so we've got that proceeds. The last thing is I had a meeting, I guess it was yesterday, with the lady who's in attendance tonight. Ms. Linda Rodriguez, who's the chairperson of the CAC, and she's been taking it upon herself in the CAC to come up with some type of name that will give some credence to the Waterfront Overlay District, as opposed to everyone just calling it the Waterfront Overlay District, or WOD. They've had something ongoing now for a number of weeks, maybe a couple months. They did SurveyMonkey. She asked me about some ways that she might could get some more participation. Right now there is one name that's in the forefront, and it's remained like that for a while. She, I think, brought that to your attention a few weeks back. But she also, and I asked her to go up the road, up 19, if you will, to 106.9, I think, or 0.3, the radio station, because they do a lot of public service announcements that maybe that might get some more participation. But she went further and asked me about the possibility of the city paying for the postage to send out a survey form with those three top names. And that would be something that I don't think you've ever considered, but I'd like to bring that forward for you to think about tonight. How much it would cost? We would just be sending out that survey, if you will, by mail, regular postage, and then they could pay for the postage to send it back if they so desired, or they could drop it off to here if they wanted, if that was more convenient. If you decided you would like to pay for it. How many households are in the city times 45 cents, so we give you an idea of how much money we'd be spending. But I think we're talking, several $100s, not thousands. So that's something for you to consider.
Didn't we talk about putting it as part of the water bill at one point, I thought, or including some type of survey as part of the water bill?
I think we did, but the problem was that we weren't doing the water bills in-house anymore.
Right, that was the problem.
That was the problem, okay.
Right, plus Sal just reminded me that we serve a number of customers outside the city, and we
They
were
can
just...
vote too, we may not listen to them, but they can vote.
So that's something for your consideration, just to see if we can get more participation in the the naming of our waterfront overlay district.
I don't feel strongly either way, to be honest with you.
I'm not opposed to any of that, so I'm fine with that.
I'm not opposed to spending the money for it, but, I mean, there may be other ways to do it. We could have some kind of, something in the next meet and greet at wherever it's being held, and ask people to come by and vote right then at the meet and greet. And you'll get the people who, if they like to visit the WOD, they'll be down there and get them to do it. And this way we're not spending any money, and we'll at least get an idea, because I think there is a pretty far forerunner on that anyway. Yeah, so I would suggest something like that through the CAC.
I have a question. What's the legality of the CAC obtaining donations for the purpose of doing this mail out? I don't know what CAC can do, but promoting this piece of it, I think is important. The CAC has been very active. Again, promoting this in the community to the West Pasco. And I really feel as we move forward with what we're doing with that area on the waterfront, when we attach a name to it, it's going to be, I feel it's going to be more of an ownership for the city. And it'll be a spark, with our citizens going forward. I would like to see somehow that we get involved and do a mailing and get that word out there. And again, I don't know the legality, if a couple of businesses are willing to, in kind or even.
I'm not sure exactly what the specifics of the question are, but generally this is an advisory committee, and at the moment you're going to take money from someone, okay? We have trust fund issues, okay, number one. Number two is, when people are going to give money, you're going to have to set policy for giving money. It's not just a matter of walking up to someone, business in the area, say, give us money and put it into some sort of voluntary, benefit or something. That's very problematic. It doesn't sound like the money's the problem. Do you understand what I mean? If you want to spend some money to do this, you can do it all day long. Do you understand what I mean? But I'd have to do some serious research. But creating some sort of voluntary fund to the city for a specific purpose, no. But we could set up something else, but not this advisory committee in its present state. Do you understand what I mean? Right. You understand what I mean? I just can't accept money from people for a purpose other than taxes. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're going to take money from you. Well, you're going to have to ask everybody for the money. Do you understand what I mean? You're going to have to ask every business in the city for money, and then have a specific purpose and things like that, and set up a fund. Do you understand what I mean? It's a little more complicated than it is. You can't favorite one.
Again, I didn't know, but...
Yeah, but I guess I'm trying to help you with making a decision. You have every right now, and this isn't a major thing. It's not on the agenda, but you could vote on it, in my opinion, anyway. You want to spend some money to, because the advisory committee wants to do a survey, you could do that all day long.
And I like the idea of, CAC does the Meet Your Neighbors. There's normally a pretty large turnout on the ones I've been to. And just featuring at whatever the next meeting is, the feature, the centerpiece of the meeting will be the renaming of the Waterfront Overlay District. Come on up to the podium. Come on up. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's fine. We're in the process of setting up another Meet Your Neighbor. We're trying to contact one of the Overlay District restaurants, so we're all looking at early December to do that. So we can certainly do that as an option and see if we get more. So my problem is we got about 70 responses total from the Facebook, and I really hate
A lot of people
putting
not
an
on Facebook.
official name to something on 70 responses of the city. That's kind of, and I know everybody really likes that, but I just want to be fair to everybody. I want to make sure that we give everybody the opportunity to vote. So, but yeah, we could certainly do to the waterfront, to the
CAC.
Meet Your Neighbor.
Yep.
And make that as a hopefully a draw to even get more people.
Yep.
And just have a card there where people can write what their opinion
Absolutely.
is and submit it.
Absolutely, we'll be glad to do that.
That's just my suggestion, but I don't know if everyone else is okay with it.
Yeah, no, we'll go with that and see how we go, and we'll move further. So that'd be great. Thank you.
That's all I had. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions at this time if the board has any.
Thank you, Mr. Sossaman. I'm going to open up general comments to the council. I'm going to start to my right with Mr. Kinsella.
With the, excuse me, the uncertainty of the storm that's out in the Gulf, how is our city being proactive? One of the things I noticed over the weekend and even today, a lot of debris piled up along the curb, waiting to be picked up. Over the weekend with the winds, saw numerous citizens out there picking it up and continuing. Are we proactively out there gathering, picking up?
I'll let Sean take that too, but yes, he has been with crews out doing exactly what you're talking about and making some other preparations.
I mean, I just hope that the city, right now, again, not knowing this cone of uncertainty where it's going, but be a little proactive and picking up a lot of that debris that's been sitting around.
Yes, sir, we did it. We actually did a complete week of pickup, which is not normal. Normally it's 3 days. We have gone back to some of the other, there's a resident over on Mallet Court that's clearing property, has asked for special requests. The other side of the blade, unfortunately, is as soon as we pick up, if I pick up at, down at, Sand Pebble, as soon as we leave, somebody's dumping stuff right there immediately. So we are looking at the larger piles. We are making special pickups for that. As some of the residents have mentioned, we are clearing storm drains right now. Presently, we're working down towards Brasher Park, Old Post, Coons Road. We're prepping all of our equipment, and yes, sir, we do keep an eye out. I've got my crews that, as they see it, pick up some of the things, because I had almost one of my crew members run over because somebody was trying to dodge a palm frond on Bay Boulevard. So he stopped and picked it up, and the gentleman behind him decided that he was in the middle of the road, he was going to hit him. And luckily he didn't. But we do that. We do notice that no matter where we pick up in the city, as soon as we get to the other side of the city, it looks like we weren't even on the other side. But yes, sir, we are monitoring that.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And the other one I want to comment on, I noticed this past weekend, the city of Newport Richey, they're in pound. They're doing something a little bit different. Instead of sending it down to Tampa like we did, they're doing it in-house. And again, I'm not familiar with them. And my thoughts, next time we get to that point, instead of accruing that transportation fee, reach out to Newport Richey PD and see what they're doing or how they auction off their vehicles. Apparently they had quite a list of vehicles I saw there from over the weekend, but they're keeping it here locally. And again, I'm not sure, but I think it may be something to look into, keep a little bit of those bucks here in the city as opposed to that expense sending it down to Tampa. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I have nothing.
I'd like to make a comment on that thing with the Newport Richey thing. We've been through this before. Newport Richey handles all their title switching and everything. We don't have the personnel to go down to the license branch and do all that title change for them to do that on an auction basis. And because of our problems with the FDLE in the past regarding our cars, we have decided to take a more hands-off approach because that keeps us transparent and legal. So there's no issues with that. That's one of the biggest problems that we have with that thing that Newport Richey does. I know the guy that handles that for him, and there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of footwork that has to be done in order to clear those titles and to get those cars open so they can be auctioned off. And then they have to handle the auction and everything, and we don't have people for that in this city. So I do know that we have discussed that before. We'd love to have the money that they make on that, but I don't see us doing that until we start improving our personnel in the city, and I don't see that happening for a while. I did ask last month that we have department reports on the first meeting of the month, and we have not got that on the agenda. Can we see if we can correct that for the next meeting? And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to open up, and first I wanted to say a big thank you to Chief Soroy for all your years of service. I wanted to thank you for everything you've done for the city. So I just wanted to recognize you and say thank you. The second thing that I wanted to do is Veterans Day. I wanted to thank all the people, especially we have a lot of city, I think, employees that have served. So I wanted to say thank you for your service, for all those who have served. One of the issues I wanted to address is kind of parallels what Ms. Robinson had said. I know that there's parts of the city that are controlled by DOT, which is frustrating for a small city because we're really not supposed to be on other people's property or DOT property necessarily for maintenance and repairs. And I think one of the examples came up, there was some graffiti on the bridge on 19, and you know, as easy as it would be for us to go fix it, I think that we have to follow the appropriate channels and just let DOT know that there's those types of issues so they can correct them. So I do understand some of the frustrations, and it's been something that we've had to deal with as a city in a lot of different scenarios. But we'll do the best we can as a city. And when we're talking about other people's property or DOT or state property, we have to go through the proper channels. And then other than that, I think that's all I had for opening comments. So I wanted to pass it over
Thank
to
you.
Councilman Dittmer.
This is probably for Sean, but I think he's aware of it because I brought it up. The private lots off Coons Road, I noticed one of the owners did come out and mow his property, but some of the lots are waist high. So we've been able to get some notifications out to those people about getting those lots maintained. And the other one's for the chief. I was going to ask if there has been a change in the routing of the cars in the city. Have we changed any of that? Because I'm out a lot around and I haven't noticed the same patterns. And I was just wondering if there was a change.
Well, we're just trying to be more random
Okay.
in what we're doing, so that if there are some nefarious individuals out there, we're not setting a certain pattern where we're at the same time every day with that, and that's it.
That's fine, makes sense. I just noticed it. Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Mayor.
Thank you. At this time, I wanted to move on to the consent agenda, but before we go, normally we just kind of first, second, and vote on it. There's an issue that looks like a pretty big line item that's in the consent agenda, and it's safety supply equipment for the 6 new cars. And I wanted just to know, because that's fairly vague, just what that breakdown is, what exactly those items would be for that price.
I think that's the whole thing, the lights and
That's going to be all the safety equipment, the lights, the sirens, the radios, things of that nature that go into the vehicles, and that's the cost per vehicle, and including the installation.
Does that include like all the striping and all that, or just the equipment itself?
That's just the equipment.
Okay. I was just kind of curious what the breakdown was in terms of, you know, I know you lights and sirens.
Yeah, the radios, the racks for the firearms, the cages, all the mounts and things of that nature.
Okay, I got you. Because it was a bigger ticket item, I just wanted to ask, thank you very much. At this time, I was looking for a motion to approve consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is going to be the first item up for council business. Yep.
Mayor, you skipped over me after Leonard spoke. I had signed up to speak.
Oh, I didn't have you sign. I had you down for city manager search discussion down here.
Is that what it said?
Yeah.
Okay. did want to make a comment after Leonard spoke.
That's fine. I'll let you speak where you signed up about anything you want to talk about. Is that fair? Which is the next, which,
Not what you allowed me to do last time, but I'll go on.
so that's the next item. So what we're going to do is open up this city manager search discussion. And this is one I'm going to pass to Sal because of the circumstances.
Okay, thank you, Council. This is just a preliminary update. I passed out earlier today, and I've also emailed you. So this Friday on the 13th is when we're going to have our department head interviews with our 3 candidates. We're going to be starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's pretty much going to proceed throughout the day. And then, of course, later on at 6 o'clock, we're going to have our workshop where the council will go ahead and interview our candidates. The agenda for the workshop will probably go, I was hoping to get that information today by Colin. He did say he had a packet of suggested questions if you wanted some assistance with that. I did not get that today. I did inform him that City Hall will not be open tomorrow, but I will check my email and I should have it out to you early Thursday morning. That way you'll have time to preview his information and on top of the information, the other questions that you may have for the candidates. So with the schedule I gave you, like I said, the staff will sit with them in half-hour sessions throughout the day, and we're going to be having a lunch at noon that will include the CAC committee and City Hall staff, and then of course continue with our interviews throughout the day, and then we'll have a break between 4 and 6, so our candidates can go ahead and prepare to meet with the council that night. So that's where we are right now. If you have any questions about that, I can try and help you with anything you may have.
I do. On the city council discussion, is that open to the other employees?
Well, if I'm kind of correcting the timeline, we can't make any decisions at the workshop regardless. So unless, and this is up to council, of course, is to call, if you want to call a special meeting, the next time we will have a meeting is on the 24th. So that city council discussion is just pretty much amongst yourselves, in between talking to the candidates. And then if you want to talk to staff, you can do that the week before our following meeting, where I would assume that you would make a decision on the 24th meeting of November.
I'd like to see the opportunity of council talking to the staff and to include the, people that are attending the luncheon, just get the input from the staff and CAC.
And if I may, I think that because it's a workshop, we're not going to vote on anything. I think we're just going to collect information and kind of figure out what all the different candidates have to offer. What I wanted to ask the council tonight, and I think it's kind of important, is whether or not we want to wait till the 24th, which is the next council meeting, or set a special meeting where we invite everybody and advertise, including the public, and we just have it as the only agenda item. And I personally like the idea of coming on a separate night, having it as the only agenda item, because it's such an important decision that we're going to have to make. So I really don't want it on another agenda or city council meeting where we have 7 other things to vote on or 6 other things to vote on. I'd rather kind of have it as its own item and be able to take the time to listen to the public commentary, have discussion with council, and decide what direction we want to go. So I didn't know how the rest of the council feels about that.
I would agree with that.
I'm in the other school of having it on a council night and just having a shortened agenda just to do
Yeah,
that.
I would prefer to have it on a council meeting night. Gives each individual member here an opportunity to speak with the various department heads. Obviously, they may not want to speak in public or anything of that nature. Talking to their future boss or anything of that to that degree. So I would prefer to be able to speak to the department heads individually via phone or however the case over the course of that week, and then circle back and make it part of a shortened a full council meeting, but a shortened agenda so we can give the proper due discussion.
Councilwoman Sorrell, any opinion one way or the other?
I just don't see any reason to have a special workshop for it. I think we can get it done at a regular council meeting.
Okay.
If we need to have some kind of time for it, then we can come in early for it like we do.
Okay. If that's the case, the only thing I would ask is that we limit what goes on the next council meeting. Unless it's an emergency, I don't think it's a time to deal with routine items. Other than that, I don't have a problem if it's going to be a light night.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree. Should definitely be a light agenda.
I just didn't want to be, kind of worn down with a bunch of other issues.
No,
and
I
go into
agree
it.
wholeheartedly.
Okay.
And if we can't get it done, then we'll roll over the agenda items to the next one. So.
Okay. Is that okay by
We're
consensus?
going to only have one meeting in December.
That's true.
I just want to check for availability because that is Thanksgiving week, and I just wanted to make sure if everyone's going to be available for that meeting.
For the council meeting?
Yeah, for the council meeting.
Oh, yeah, that's the Tuesday. Right
Yeah,
before
what day was that again?
I'll be here, so.
I'll be here.
Yep, I should be here.
That sounds good. Was there any other
Is that the 24th?
thing that the council wanted to address before I turn it over to anyone who signed up? Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be 24th.
And I had one person that signed up for this. It was Mr. Mueller. Welcome. Come on up to the podium, Mr. Mueller.
Thank you. Sorry for the confusion. Where do I want to start? With regard to hiring a new city manager, prolonging the process continues probably to chip away at that base of candidates. So keep that in mind. You probably need to come up with a decision by next time. I'm just laying it out. I'd like to know where we are with the audit status. I didn't hear anything on the city manager's report. Once upon a time, we talked about an operations report every month to determine where the results of business are. How are we performing? I didn't see that. This is the first month after this guy. First month after the first month of business. I would expect maybe get some kind of a straw man outline form. I'm willing to put time and effort in if you guys want to utilize my free services. I can probably help format one. We need to probably look at where we stand on the dredging. I understand there were no bids. Maybe this is an opportunity to get with Pasco County and address potentially a larger scope of work, potentially looking at work with that organization and getting more work done under a larger contract. I heard $5,000 net proceeds relative to the sale of automobiles, and then I heard some follow-up statement about transportation. So is the net 5,000, or is it 5,000 net from the auctioneer, and then we had transportation costs on top of that? It would help understand and provide some clarity if we could marry those costs all in one, so we know what our bottom line is on that distribution of funds. One other option is maybe we can engage Newport Richey to sell our vehicles in their auction, and they have a bigger auction, more draw, maybe it work, I don't know. Might be something to think about. By the way, Sean's doing a great job. He's cleared those ditches out all the way down Old Post and Coons. I had the benefit of walking through that this morning, and I think he's proactive, moving in that direction, so kudos to him. That's about all I got, but I'm willing to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. All right, that's all that I had signed up for that particular agenda item. With that, I think we'll move on to the next item. It's going to be the second reading of Ordinance 20682, vacating property at 8237 Hayward Lane. I'm going to pass that to our city attorney, Jim Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I presume everybody knows what this is. It'll be the second reading of the vacating of the small parcel of property on Hayward Lane. I'll read it by title only. An ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, vacating a portion of a certain city street and/or right-of-way located at the northwest end of Hayward Lane with the surrounding parcel number 2925160080 0020, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date. Looking for a motion.
Motion to approve second reading of ordinance 20-682.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're going to move on to item 5, which is the approval of Resolution 2008, proposed building department fee schedule. That I was going to pass to
I'll take it also.
city attorney as well. Thank you.
With regard to this resolution, I just want to make a few preliminary comments. I spoke with Mr. Braun, that's the gentleman that we had engaged to help us to meet the compliance by the end of the year. He told me, and I passed it on to Mr. Sossaman, that he will be available probably, and he says at most need an hour or two work for the next 6 months, like 1 or 2 hours a month, to aid the building department in the initial, I think it's bi-weekly analysis, and posting it to the website, and then getting ready for the 6-month analysis that has to be done going forward. Now, before I read the resolution, just so council has some idea of what's going on here, is it's being done by resolution, which our code provides for, that we can do it this way. So what that means is at any time you want to change this, you just say, I want to change it, and I show up with a resolution. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's a relatively easy thing. I styled the resolution, and I checked a couple other cities, Mr. Braun's suggestion, and they do it the same way here. So I have the resolution, and then the fee schedule is the attachment. This fee schedule will be posted to the website as you see it. Okay, and it's effective January 1st, 2021. And we're doing it that way so that the building department can get ready in their process of accepting information and things like that on the 1st, and apparently they're ready to do that. So at any time, I guess, so it's not, this isn't locked in stone, this is a compliance issue, and so for any reason you want to come in during the middle of the year and say, look, you know, want to change some of these fees some way or make something special, once it's set up and running, then it's going to be easier for you if you wanted to raise a certain fee. It was becoming problematic or something, I guess is my point. So this is as, you know, easy as it can be done. So if you have any questions, I'll answer them. But let me read the resolution first. I'm going to read the resolution by title only, resolution number 20-08, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, setting forth building code inspection fees, permit fees, and related fees of the City of Port Richey Building and Zoning Department. Looking for a motion.
Motion to approve resolution 20-08.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Going to move on to the appointment of members to boards and committees. And for that, I was going to pass that over to Mr. Sossaman.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and address this
Go
as
ahead.
well.
Go ahead.
Okay, just give me one moment. So for council's consideration, Lexi Cust, who is here tonight and also presented herself earlier this meeting, would like to be a member of the Historic Commission Committee. As of right now, we only have one active member on that committee. It's not one of our more or less active committees, but we only have one member on it as of right now, which is Angel Nally. So Ms. Cust is, of course, she's here if council has any questions or whatnot, wants to talk to her about being a member of this committee. So I'm looking for a motion to approve her as a member for the Historic Commission Committee.
I make a motion to appoint Lexi Cust to the Historic Commission Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for your service.
Welcome.
And the last item up is going to be the police department surplus of equipment. I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Sossaman.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is several meetings in a row, and I know our police chief, Cyrus Robinson's here to answer any specific questions you may have. I know there's some show and tell, if you will, some pictures. It's all kind of assorted stuff again. He is slowly but surely bringing some semblance of organization, because we've had several closets full of antiquated equipment and supplies. So I concur with his recommendation that you declare this surplus so he can eliminate it and continue to move forward with his department.
I have a quick question. Go ahead. As a city, do we ever use this reloading equipment for target practice or anything?
No, it wouldn't be prudent to use any kind of reloads in a service weapon.
So why would we have reloading equipment?
I have no idea. It was here prior to us getting here, and it's brand new.
Chief?
We did have a prior chief that had gotten into some reloading, but I don't think that they were quite under the understanding that they can't use reloads at all.
No, it would only be for target practice.
Correct. Back in the day, we used to have a range off of Coons Road,
Yep.
and they used to do it out there. So
Okay.
I think that this was leftover stuff.
So that's some really old powder.
It might be the ones.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Any other comments or motions?
Motion to approve equipment from the police department as surplus property and disposed of by other proper means determined by the city.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Are you done cleaning out your closet yet?
At this time, we're going to move on to old business, and I'm going to start to my left this time with Vice Mayor Dittmer.
I know the chief's going to hate me, but do we have any kind of an update on that CAD up and running?
The CAD's live. We just have a couple of issues, and IT is going to check on it Thursday.
So
They
has
have
the
some,
city, county actually thrown a switch now? And
We're doing it, hopefully doing it on Thursday, as soon as these two last issues are taken care of. It's a cable and a monitor, but everything that we've done up to this point, we're ready to go.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
And I don't have any old business. I'm going to pass it to...
I have no old business, thank you.
The only item I had, I know over by off Route 19, right before the bridge, the name of the road escapes me, we were looking at cutting off the exit from Route 19 over with the engineering proposal. What has happened with that? And I can't think of the name
That's
of the road.
the Cody River.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Cody Drive.
Cody Drive. What has been going on with that? I know we were bouncing back and forth with DOT for a while.
We'd received a proposal from the engineer to do the design work of that I provided to the city manager. Never got an authority, or they haven't contacted, to my knowledge, to start that process. I can check with the engineer tomorrow.
Was that in the scope of work for?
No, that was a separate scope, I believe. Yeah, separate scope, separate engineer.
Right. We only got one response back on something different from that one, so we'll have to recontact the state engineer to see what they say.
Because I thought we were also talking, there was a possibility of a grant from DOT for that as well.
That did. Yep.
I'm not aware of that grant. There were some beautification grants, because I called DOT and talked with the region's engineer, and they had some small beautification grants that we could use, but I haven't applied for any other one yet.
Okay.
But I will check into that.
Sean.
Yes, sir. What this was before Mr. Sossaman. The agreement was I was dealing with DOT. Mr. Foss has a colleague that used to be a DOT engineer. So that's what we were working on, for him to do the processing a little faster than us bringing in heirs and having a complete redesign and everything else. So it's gone to his associate, which, you know, I understand the gentleman also has another job, and he's kind of doing this on the back, you know, on the side for us. But we are being charged. So what it is we're having him we're trying to get him to design it. And since he's a former DOT engineer, he may have a little faster to, you know, get the wheels greased a little further than that.
Okay, so we've received the proposal. I'm just trying to get where we are exactly with the.
That's what Mr. Foss is saying, he received it.
So we have the proposal in hand to do the engineering work, and then he will assist in the grant.
We'll work on this on
Dallas
Thursday.
just told me he's going to get with me Thursday, because to answer your question specifically, I do not have it right now, but if Dallas has got it, then we'll get it on the JOB.
Let's not put it on the agenda for this next meeting because we're already full, but for the one after, let's make sure we get some movement here.
Roger that. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
That's all I had.
Councilman Kinsella.
And the last question, you put bids out or requested bids for that dredging. We didn't get anything. What's our next step?
Thanks for that question. I had another resident send me an email yesterday concerning that. As a matter of fact, I think he had addressed it to me several days ago, and copied State Representative Mariano, as well as Representative Hooper, and also the general mailbox, I guess you would say, at the State Auditor General's office. And as you recall, when you asked me this question at the last meeting, I said it was an ongoing audit, and it is ongoing. And I'll get into more detail on that, so I'm glad you asked that question since Mr. Mueller brought it up, and it is old business. It's one thing that we found out with the question from that other citizen was that their expected completion date is sometime this coming spring 21 or even summer of 21. They did not have an exact completion date, so that's the time frame they're looking at. It's more of an administrative type audit. I won't say it's financial of nature, because the questions that have come in the numerous emails have more to do with policies on ethics, not just the discovery, the prevention, the identification, and so forth. CRE did not have any such policy. I have asked, we have gotten one now, Jim and I have talked about it, that is developed. So there's some other policies that they have asked us about. They've also asked questions relative to why you didn't have meetings every month of the CRA, not this body, but even though you serve in the dual role as a council person and then also as a member of the CRA. So going forward, we're going to have to do more publications, more sunshine type adherence, if you will. Not to say that you did anything wrong. It's just that there have been some changes in the policies and procedures over the last few years relative to CRAs. So those things, when you talk about being overworked and that type of thing, I've had to ask Sal to dig back through his minutes, because this audit time frame goes back to January of 16 up through January of this year, 20. And so you've got numerous resolutions, budgets that were adopted, so he's asked for copies of all this good stuff. And what we have sent them so far is very voluminous. As a matter of fact, after I answered probably 2 or 3 different ones with Jim's assistance, our finance director's assistant, Sal's assistants, we compiled the information, probably sent out a good 3 or 4 emails with attachments, maybe 5 or 6, we'll all count last Thursday and Friday. As soon as I sent that to him, he bounced back fairly quickly with another series of 11 or 12 questions. And they're usually not yes or no type natured questions. They're questions that if you answer yes, then you have to explain why you answered yes. If you answer no, you do the same thing. So it's a very detailed audit. And again, it's protracted. And as I indicated at the last meeting, it's still in progress. I hate to say it's a work in progress, but it's something like that. I'll try to answer any other questions.
I appreciate that information, but I was inquiring about the dredging. We requested bids for, and we didn't get any, and
We did not receive any bids, so I contacted Ray Malavey, who is the engineer on that project with Dewberry Engineering, and he recommended that we rework it, and he has put in new dates and times. So what we're looking at now, Jim has reviewed it, I've reviewed it, and what we're looking at is we have actually went ahead and published it today on BidNet, which is one of those big publications that goes out. We're giving them till January the 22nd of 2021 to submit bids. On that day, then we'll open those bids. We will receive them up until 1 p.m. on the 22nd of January. So that document has been reworked and has been put back out for the public to bid. What we're going to try to do as well, even though we had 3 contractors contact us the last time, none of them submitted a bid, which was kind of unusual. But then we had, I think it was the day after the bids were opened, we had a contractor contact us and indicate that it had slipped his mind while he was working on some other bids. It sounded kind of strange, but that was his commentary.
thank you.
Thank you. I think that's all the old business. With that, I'm looking for motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.